Please be seated. Good afternoon, and happy Mother's Day. To our graduates, their families and friends, my colleagues on the faculty and staff at the School of Law, trustee and fellow alum Vanessa Leonard, and honored guests, welcome to the 2022 commencement of the University of Alabama School of Law. This afternoon, we award two sets of degrees, one the Juris Doctor degree, and the other the LLM or Master of Laws degree. We award the Juris Doctor degree to 131 students. One of our JD students will receive a joint master's degree in business administration. One will receive a joint master's degree in social work, and one will receive a master's degree in civil engineering. 7 of our JD students will also receive the LLM degree in business transactions or taxation, and 3 other students who already have a JD will receive the LLM degree in taxation or business transactions. Finally, 29 students will receive the Order of the Samaritan Award for pro bono legal work and service to the community. This is the most festive and truly joyous occasion in the life of an academic institution. It's a celebration of you, our students, soon-to-be graduates, who are the reasons that we on the faculty and staff of the law school do what we do. It's a celebration of your achievement in reaching a singular milestone, and it's a celebration of things to come, hence the word commencement. If it's a time for celebration, it's also a time for reflection. It's a day to reflect especially on the multitude of things that brought you to this moment. Although the achievement that we celebrate today belongs to each of you as individuals, and no one can take that from you. It's also undeniably the product of larger events, of forces, of currents, also of people, uncounted numbers of people who have helped to elevate you, your families, your friends, your teachers, and one another. Elevation often comes from support, but elevation can come also from adversity, from what you learn about yourself and about the world as you meet adversity, from the skills you acquire as you navigate rough waters, from the sense of purpose you can cultivate in meeting life's challenges. Thanks to a global pandemic, thanks is the wrong word. Because of a global pandemic, you've faced a collective challenge whose nature, scope, and duration are unprecedented in the history of the law school. You did not seek the challenge, who would have? But it was thrust upon you. And the manner in which you have met it will mark you and your generation for the rest of your lives. Enduring it has been demanding. Each of us has faced unique struggles. Some of us have lost loved ones to the pandemic. Despite the obstacles, you persevered, and in that, you may take enormous pride. You, students, soon-to-be graduates, are talented, you are capable, each in your own unique way. You've learned a lot about the art and craft of the profession of law while here. But if I could wish anything for you as you depart, it would be not merely for success, although I do wish that for you. It would be that you use your talents and the adversity that you've faced to make a difference in the lives of others. There's no single path for doing so, but as you choose and pursue your path, I hope you'll make it one in which you'll not only do well, but also find ways to do good. Now please rise for the national anthem to be sung by a member of the graduating class, Mackenzie Moore.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Thank you, Mackenzie. That was splendid. I'll recognize also the string quartet to my right for the music in the entry processional. Thank you. It was lovely. It's customary for the outgoing president of the Student Bar Association to share remarks. So I'll call now on Dakota Slaughter, who served as president of the Student Bar Association this past year, to offer reflections on behalf of the SBA. Dakota.
Good afternoon, friends and family, faculty and staff, my fellow graduates. Hi, Mom, happy Mother's Day. To borrow from an actual president, we are gathered here on this momentous occasion. But seriously, I'm honored to stand before you all today as we celebrate a major milestone in our lives. Today's a day to reflect, to take stock, and to count our blessings. We don't have to worry about any more readings, no more cold calls, no more footnotes to scrutinize. There's no next seminar paper, that is, unless you're waiting until Wednesday's deadline to turn it in. And I want to say there's no more exams, but apparently after this is all said and done, there's still some big one we're supposed to take. I don't know what that's all about. But before we walk across this stage, I encourage you to think back on the journey that led us to this moment today. Think all the way back to studying for, taking the LSAT, to the moment Claude told you that you were admitted, to the first day of orientation, room 187, 188. Think back to the overwhelming fervor of 1L. And then just when we were all figuring it out, then how everything changed. Getting a legal education from this university is a rigorous endeavor already, Yet we also face these added burdens, unprecedented challenges, from the biological to the socio-political to whatever. The world we've experienced for the past 3 years has demanded more from us than any of us had originally imagined. But we didn't go through it alone. With the guidance of the faculty and staff, with the support of our loved ones, and with the strength of us leaning on each other, together we endured. And here we are, at this moment today, on the cusp of crossing over into the legal community to become the little torches that lead people through the dark. Today, let us celebrate this journey and be grateful for those that have walked with us, whether here on earth or in spirit. It's been quite the whirlwind, but hey, we made it, y'all. Thank you. Congratulations, everyone, and roll tide.
Thanks, Dakota, and thank you for your service and leadership. It's been exemplary, truly. We come now to a very special part of the program. By resolution of the Board of Trustees of the University of Alabama System, we are called on today to recognize, celebrate, and humbly honor a most distinguished life of a truly extraordinary human being. Fred David Gray was born into a very segregated Montgomery, Alabama in 1930. While attending what was then called Alabama State College for Negroes, now Alabama State University, he secretly vowed, in his words, to destroy everything segregated he could find. He decided to pursue the study of law, but because of a rigid racial apartheid in Alabama, including the University of Alabama, there was no law school that would accept African American students in the state. Instead, the state would often pay for the tuition of black students to study law, if only they would study someplace else. Mr. Gray matriculated at the Case Western Reserve University School of Law in Cleveland, Ohio, where he took his JD degree in 1954, same year that the Supreme Court of the United States decided Brown versus Board of Education. If the state of Alabama thought it was rid of Fred Gray, he had other ideas. He returned to Alabama to pursue two callings, one as a preacher, another as a lawyer. And I intend in no way to disparage or diminish the religious calling if I say that he turned out to be one heck of a lawyer. Consider just 5 of the legal matters in which he was involved from his earliest years as an attorney. First, at the urging of Thurgood Marshall, then of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Mr. Gray represented participants in the Montgomery bus boycott, including Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin, the latter of whom, at the age of 15, was the first person to be arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white person, Browder versus Gale. On multiple fronts, number 2, Mr. Gray desegregated the entirety of public education in the state of Alabama, schools, colleges, universities, including the University of Alabama, where the governor made his infamous stand in the schoolhouse door, Vivian Malone versus University of Alabama, and a host of other cases. Third, the state of Alabama tried to squelch the civil rights movement by prosecuting Dr. Martin Luther King for tax evasion. Mr. Gray was a central participant in Dr. King's legal defense, and after a 4-day trial in 1960, an all-white jury returned a verdict of not guilty, a verdict that Mr. Gray said renewed his faith in the judicial system. State of Alabama versus King. In 1965, 600 African American citizens gathered in Selma to march for the right to vote were savagely assaulted by police. Mr. Gray led the legal effort to secure safe passage for the marchers. And through his efforts, the United States Court for the Middle District of Alabama rendered a decision that established conditions permitting the march to proceed to Montgomery, this time 50,000 persons strong. And within 5 months, Congress enacted the Voting Rights Act of 1965, Williams versus Wallace. For 40 years, beginning in 1932, the United States Public Health Service conducted an inhumane and extended medical experiment related to sexually transmitted disease among black men in Macon County, Alabama. The Public Health Service never obtained informed consent, never provided appropriate medical care, never incorporated penicillin into the study, even when it knew that drug was effective, never notified sexual partners of the subjects of the study. And in a landmark case, Mr. Gray obtained substantial monetary compensation for participants plus medical care and health benefits. Now, these are just a few of his path-breaking cases. There are others. He also represented the NAACP in the Supreme Court of the United States when Governor John Patterson tried to bully the association out of the state of Alabama, NAACP versus Alabama. In Gomillion versus Lightfoot, which became a precursor to the principle of one person, one vote, Mr. Gray persuaded the Supreme Court to overturn the Alabama legislature's attempt to gerrymander the city of Tuskegee in a way that excluded virtually every African American person from that electoral district. In New York Times versus Sullivan, he vindicated the rights of black ministers in the face of a libel suit brought by a local politician in Montgomery. And in Mitchell versus Johnson, he successfully argued that the discriminatory exclusion of African American persons from juries violated the 14th Amendment. Think of it. These cases have been at the center of American constitutional law since the middle of the 20th century. And Mr. Gray continues to practice law after 68 years. He's an author. Seek out his first book, Bus Ride to Justice, published in 1995. His second book, on the Tuskegee syphilis study, published in 1998. And his soon-to-be-released third book, Alabama versus King. His achievements and his awards are numerous, too numerous for me to recite in full here. I will say a few things. In 1970, he was one of the first two African American persons to be elected to the Alabama legislature since Reconstruction. In 1985 and 86, he served as president of the National Bar Association. In 2000, he was inducted into the International Society of Barristers. He's a fellow of the American Bar Foundation and of the American College of Trial Lawyers. In 2002, he was elected the first African American president of the Alabama State Bar. His theme for the year of his presidency was Lawyers Render Service. which remains the formal motto of the Alabama State Bar to this day. And among his many awards, in 2006, the NAACP bestowed on Mr. Gray the William Robert Ming Advocacy Award. Without his courageous work, we would not be gathered here in the way that we are. And it is especially appropriate that the Board of Trustees has chosen to bestow an Honorary Doctor of Laws degree this year. For this very commencement marks the 50th anniversary of the graduation of the first Black law students from the University of Alabama School of Law. Mr. Gray, would you please step forward? Fred David Gray, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University of Alabama, it's my solemn privilege to confer upon you the degree of Honorary Doctor of Laws with all of its rights, responsibilities, privileges, and duties. I'll take this away. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Dean Mark Brandon, thank you. Mr. President of this university, thank you. Members of the Board of Trustees, including Attorney Vanessa Lennard, who's here with us today, thank you. For this honor that you have bestowed upon me today. To the class of 2022, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all those persons who've had anything to do with this degree being bestowed, conferred upon me today. I acknowledge the presence of my wife, Carol. We are second marriages. I'd been married for some 40 years. She had been married for some 30 years. We lost our spouses. I met her at a church function. She said she wanted to take care of me, and for the last 20 years, she's done it. Thank you very much, Carol. I also acknowledge my son, Stanley, who's a member of our law firm, and we want you to know we're still in the law business, so when you need the best, just contact us. He and his wife, LaWanda, and their daughter, Sierra, who's a member of the Ogletree firm in Birmingham, I acknowledge their presence here also. Also, and was so good to see Professor Fair, a longtime faculty member of this law school, and it's good to see him here also. Let me say Happy Mother's Day to all who are mothers, and like mothers, we share your pride today for those successful young adults. Congratulations to the class of 2022. Who knows, but some of you, some years from now, may be honored as I am being honored here today. Work hard, render legal services, and make a difference, and you may receive a similar honor. So congratulations on your graduation. This degree today is the second honor that I have received from the University of Alabama. On October 4th, 2018, the College of Communication and Information Services inducted me into their Hall of Fame. I am honored, appreciative, and humble that this university has conferred upon me today an Honorary Doctor of Laws degree. Honored because when I was growing up on the west side of Montgomery as a youngster in the cradle of the Confederacy, I knew little about the University of Alabama, except it was a university for white people and African Americans were not permitted to attend. Therefore, when I decided to become a lawyer, I didn't even apply. I am appreciative for this honor because it has a special meaning to me. When I filed the lawsuit, Vivian Malone versus the University of Alabama in 1963, which finally desegregated this university, I never dreamed that 59 years later, I would be receiving the honor that you have bestowed upon me. My only concern was to open the doors so African Americans could attend. I humbly accept this degree on behalf of all those clients during the past 67 years trusted me to handle their legal cases. Many of those cases resulted in breaking down the walls of segregation and changing the landscape in America, and the need called to your attention some of those cases. I particularly, however, accept this degree on behalf of unknown clients like Claudette Cobbin, the 15-year-old girl who 9 months before Rosa Parks did the same thing as Mrs. Parks did without the knowledge and instruction that she had. I also accepted on behalf of the following: the 623 men that the dean talked about in the infamous Tuskegee syphilis study, the persons unknown who marched from Selma to Montgomery with Congressman John Lewis. When they were beaten back on Bloody Sunday, they called me, and before the close of day on Monday, I filed the case, which ultimately assisted in the passage of the Voting Rights Act. I accept this degree on behalf of all the persons who participated in the sit-ins, the freedom rides, the freedom walks, all designed to demonstrate injustices in our country, many of which have now been changed as a result of cases that I had the privilege of filing. I also accept it on behalf of those students who have been able to get a quality education on a non-segregated basis. And finally, I accept this decree on behalf of the many men and women who were inspired in their own way to help solve the problems in their communities as they exist, such as the Black Lives Matter and many others. Because of what they saw others do in the civil rights movement, they were encouraged to step forward and are determined to continue to fight against racism and for equal justice for all. Finally, it is with deep humility that I accept this decree on behalf of all those unknown heroes and clients whose names never appear in the media, whose faces never appear on television. These are the persons who laid the foundation so that you can honor me today. We have made a substantial amount of progress, but the struggle for equal justice continues. It rests upon you, lawyers, to see these problems and become a part of trying to solve the problems that we have. We must continue the task of eliminating racism and inequality. We must do it in a nonviolent manner until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. You have inspired us with your life's work, and you honor us with your presence here today. Thank you. The valedictory address is a tradition at Alabama law, and it is customary for that address to be given by the student who occupies the highest rank in the graduating class. For the class of 2022, there were 3 students who, at the end of 5 semesters of study, had grade point averages higher than 4.0. Those outstanding students are Catherine Farazzi, Kyle Glenn, and Price McGiffert. Among the 3 of them, Catherine, Kyle, and Price wrote 18 best papers, and that's despite the fact that during one semester, the spring of 2020, there were no best papers awarded because we were teaching on a pass-fail basis. They also excelled outside the classroom. I'll say a few words about each. Catherine is from Friendswood, Texas. She's a member of the Alabama Law Moot Court Board and served as a senior editor of the Alabama Law Review. After graduation, she will begin a clerkship with the Honorable Andrew Brasher of the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, followed by a clerkship with the Honorable William Pryor, Chief Judge of the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. Price is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You may have heard of it. He served as president of the Bench and Bar Legal Honor Society. He also served as articles editor of the Alabama Law Review. In the fall, he will pursue an LLM in taxation from the New York University Law School before returning to Alabama to join the firm of Maynard, Cooper, and Gale in Birmingham. Kyle is from White Castle, Louisiana. He received the Judge Walter P. Guin Best Brief Award for our 2L moot court competition. He was a member of the Alabama Law Moot Court Board, and he served as an executive editor of the Alabama Law Review. After graduation, he will begin a clerkship with the Honorable Alan Windsor, U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Florida, followed by clerkship with the Honorable Robert Luck of the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. Now, the law school has an established policy for breaking painfully close ties in calculating GPAs for the purposes of naming a valedictorian. And using that process, Kyle Glenn was named valedictorian for the class of 2022. Kyle, would you please come forward?
Thank you, Dean Brandon, classmates, faculty, family. I feel incredibly humbled to be standing up here right now and to have the honor of speaking before you, whether you're here in person or watching at home. And I'll have to admit, I'm sure those of my friends who know me a little better might have just balked at the suggestion that I, of all people, would describe myself as feeling humbled right now. But that is truly how I feel, and I think a big part of it is simply because I really struggled in trying to figure out what I should say to you all today. And that's not just because that I found out I would have the chance to give this speech around the same time that I was frantically starting an evidence outline after spring break and trying to figure out what on God's green earth hearsay is. No, I think that difficulty was mainly because I am not any more qualified than any single one of my classmates to be standing up here right now in an attempt to speak to our entire cumulative law school experience in a speech of 5 minutes or less. We've all had vastly different journeys in getting to this point today. We will all have vastly different journeys moving forward, and a couple of cliches, metaphors, or buzz quotes stereotypical to a valedictorian speech simply cannot fully grasp or appreciate the gravity of that reality. One would only need to consider how much the world drastically changed around us in the last 3 years alone. But in an effort to try, what I will say to my classmates is that we should neither sell short our accomplishments in getting to this point, nor underestimate the challenges that lie ahead. We did more here at UA Law than simply endure terrifying cold calls about Pennoyer and its bad law of personal jurisdiction, or Holmes page 7 for those of us in section 1. We did more here than succumb to caffeine addictions while reading unnecessarily large case books on long nights at school, at least during 1L when we were more prone to opening those case books. No, what we truly did here at UA Law was something obviously more impressive than any of those minute things. I have all the confidence in the world that we will do incredible things for our future clients and our communities moving forward, just as we've done the past 3 years. Indeed, as graduates of this awesome institution, we should never settle for doing anything less. I think that it is also critical we not underestimate the all-forgotten reality, seemingly more forgotten than the law, that no one of us are an island. Whether it was by being sent an outline or being brought a study snack or coffee late at night at school, no one of us achieved this alone. We should all take stock of those who helped us reach this milestone today. To that end, these degrees we are to be conferred today are just as much our families as they are our own. I personally would be remiss if I did not extend a special thanks to members of my family, those watching here, at home, or in spirit. I will not be standing up here today without your support. And to the faculty, thank you for preparing us to enter the legal profession and for constantly going the extra mile on our behalf. For your mentorship and support, whether in the form of personal guidance, in seeking employment or otherwise, will be indebted to you every step of the way. And understanding that we've waited a long time for this day and to avoid going into quote-unquote moot court mode like one of my classmates suggested, I'll conclude with this. To the class of 2022, it truly was a privilege to walk through those law school doors across the parking lot with you 3 years ago for orientation. It truly was a privilege to share those halls with you for the last 3 years, and I'm grateful to soon have the privilege of walking across this stage with you and in sharing in the experience of our great achievement. Congratulations, thank you, and happy bar prep.
Thanks, Kyle, and congratulations to all three, Kyle, Catherine, and Price. Well done, well done. It's now a real pleasure and a distinct honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Liz Huntley. Ms. Huntley was born in Huntsville, but spent most of her childhood in Clanton, Alabama, the big city. I spoke earlier of the strength that can come from facing challenges. It is fair to say that Liz's childhood was marked with profound adversity. But if she did not grow up easy, she did grow up strong. If you want insight into her story, I commend to you her book, More Than a Bird, which is an account of how one can triumph in the face of enormous obstacles. After graduating as valedictorian of her high school class, she enrolled at Auburn University, where she received a degree in political science. She took her JD from the University of Alabama School of Law in 1997. Does it seem like a quarter of a century? And began a distinguished career of legal practice and service to her community. After law school, she completed 2 clerkships with the Honorable U.W. Clement of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Alabama and the Honorable John Bush of the 19th Judicial Circuit of the state of Alabama. She is now Senior Counsel and Director of Community Relations and Engagement at the law firm of Lightfoot, Franklin, and White in Birmingham. She's an experienced and talented litigator, specializing in financial services, product liability, personal injury, and she provides legal and consulting services to governments and nonprofits that serve children and families. When she was a child, she received an important piece of advice. When you have something, the advice goes, the burden is on you to give back. And she took the advice to heart. Her record of service is extraordinary. It includes the Board of Directors of the Children's Village, Board of Directors of the Alabama School Readiness Alliance, Board of Directors of Leadership Alabama, President and co-founder of the Hope Institute, an organization that helps schools build a culture of character in their students, Board of Trustees for Auburn University, Board of Governors of the Alabama Law School Foundation. These are just a few of her civic commitments. Her list of accolades is also extensive. National Black Lawyers Top 100, Fellow of the Alabama Law Foundation, designation as a super lawyer for the Mid-South, National Lifetime Achievement Award from the Defense Research Institute, and 2020 Momentum Top 5 Women of Impact in Alabama. With all of this on her plate, I am in awe that she has also been an active parent of 3 children, though she will tell you she has a splendid partner in her husband, Tony, who's here today. I could go on, but better that you hear from her. So please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Liz Huntley.
Now, when you hear the word keynote, you start to think, oh my goodness, we've already heard from all of these speakers. How long is she going to go? I promise you I'll be brief. As a point of privilege, let me just personally say thank you publicly to Fred Gray. Mr. Gray, I'm one of those that you spoke on behalf of, who you accepted it for. One of those people who had the opportunity to attend this wonderful law school on scholarship, right? You were being paid to go to another state, and they paid me to come. So you know, we've come a ways. So I just want to thank you for all that you've done, and just to share with the group how full circle this moment was for me when I was asked and knew what was happening today, because we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the first black law school graduates from this school. When I was a baby lawyer and had my own law firm in Clanton, and Mr. Fred Gray became the first African American to serve as the president of the Alabama State Bar, not only did he make lawyers rendering service the theme of the bar, and it's remained the theme to this day, but he also highlighted some lawyers that had committed to service across the state. Now, there's lots of big law firms across this state, and not many folks think about folks in Clanton, Alabama, but he did. And I was one of those lawyers that was recognized as a lawyer rendering service this year. And not only did he do that, but I had the opportunity for him to come to my little office when I was practicing law there in Clanton at the time, and sit there with me and share so many nuggets of wisdom. So to that, I also say thank you. Because not only did he do what he did with this legal career that rendered so many legal decisions that impacted my life and my ability to do the things that I was able to do, but you also personally impacted me in that moment, and I'll always cherish that time. The other point of privilege I'd like to take before my remarks is to say Happy Mother's Day. Let's give all the mothers a round of applause. Now, I couldn't think of no better gift for a mother than to watch their child walk across the stage and accept a Juris Doctorate degree. I mean, what an absolute gift that is. More so because of your pocketbook. I get it, you know, the relief that comes with the expenses being eased. And let me also say this to the mothers that are not able to physically be here today, that may be watching us on live stream. To the mothers that aren't present because they're no longer with us on earth. And two, I have to personally acknowledge this, to all of those who feel some kind of way about Mother's Day because of the lack of a relationship with a mother and a mother being present in your life. Let me just say this to you. It is a special day for you too, because that woman, regardless of whatever happened in terms of the course of your relationship with her or the lack thereof, she is the reason you are here. She is the reason you were born, because you fellas don't have the organ capacity to do it. So mothers are the reason you're here. So never forget that. Never forget that there is a connection and that there was a purpose for all of that. So, you know, this day means a lot of things to a lot of people. If you know my background, my mother was a drug addict, and I lived with my grandmother, and I was in and out of foster homes and ultimately adopted by my pastor and his wife. So I certainly get how we can all be all over the place depending on our relationships. But it's a special day because those women were the women that got you physically here on earth, no matter the relationship, and never forget the appreciation for that. So I thank you for indulging me on those 2 points. Now let me say this to begin with, and that is congratulations. Not only congratulations to family and friends that have been by your side, but congratulations to you, because I know that law school is horrible. I do. I really start to worry about my classmates to say, you know, it was kind of great. I'm like, are you talking about the social side or are you talking about the class side? And I say it's horrible in an endearing way, right? Because it's some of the hardest work you've ever done in your life. I mean, just some of the hardest work. And your valedictorian talked about the challenges of all of the cases you might have on a moment's notice, right? And you got to turn something around in another day. But let me, and some of you, I'm speaking to you again because I've spoken at the law school many times. Let me remind you of what you have for a few minutes so that you can think about what you're going to do with what you have. See, the law profession is really unique, and all professions are, and I have an appreciation for any discipline because I'm, as a person of faith, and I respect everybody's position in their own personal spiritual journey, but as a person of faith, I believe that God has uniquely made us all for a certain calling, for a certain purpose that He has in life. And sometimes those callings are more visible than others, right? There's some of us that are in the legal profession that will have an opportunity to touch some major case or major thing that will be noticed by all. And there are others of you that will go about your practice of law every day and do things, and they may not be noticed by all, but they were your calling in that purpose. And what law school has equipped you to do is to be a change agent, is to be a gatekeeper of liberty and justice in our society. You see, when I was in middle school, and at that point I'd kind of been in and out of foster homes and just going through a really terrible childhood, but I had the luxury of really great teachers and being in a great school. And I had a sixth grade history teacher, and let me describe him to y'all. He was a white male, maybe 5'1" or 2". He was middle-aged, wore horn-rimmed glasses and white button-down collar shirt and black pants and a pocket protector. Y'all getting the image in your mind? And he was my history teacher, and his name was Mr. Art Smith. Now, it's kind of ironic because they ended up marrying a history teacher. Who knew, right? So Mr. Art Smith was just a tough disciplinarian, but he was one of those professors, like a Brian Fair, you know, that just brings things to life and make them engaging, even after he's beat you up with 40 hours of work to get there, right? But he's made it fun, and it's stimulating, and you learn, and that's how Mr. Art Smith was in this class. And I read all the time because that was kind of my escape. That was the way I escaped from things. And I'll never forget, one day the bell rang for us to change class, and Mr. Art Smith looked at me and said, "Elizabeth, come here." And y'all, I got kind of scared because Mr. Art Smith, you get in trouble with him, it's going down, right? Those were the paddling days. And so I said, "Yes, sir," and walk up to him, and I had a book in my hand. It was a Stephen King book. And I read Stephen King and Dean Koontz and all those crazy folks for two reasons. One, in those books, somebody had a worse life than me, right? And also because they were so gory and scary, and they made me forget about the tough things that I was having to deal with on a daily basis. So I had a Stephen King book in my hand, and Mr. Smith looked at me and he said, "Every time I see you, you have a book in your hand, and it's always a bunch of crap." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "It's a bunch of crap. Every time I see you, you're reading books, and they're always a bunch of crap." And I was like, "Well, Mr. Art Smith, what do you want me to read?" And this is what he said. He said, "Elizabeth, you have so much potential." He said, "You need to be reading biographies." He said, "You need to be reading about ordinary people that did amazing things." Now, I didn't understand the magnitude of all of that. I was only in the 6th or 7th grade. I didn't know what that meant, but I did know I didn't want to get in trouble with Mr. Art Smith, so I better march down to that library and grab myself a biography so I'd be walking in with it the next day in school. So I go to the library and I peruse the books, and I went to the African American section, and the very first book I picked up was Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. The irony of that, because this phenomenal woman just happened to have gone through the type of childhood I had, and yet very successful. So I liked these biographies. I felt inspired, so I started reading a whole bunch. I read Rosa Parks and learned about Mr. Fred Gray. I read about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and I read through all the black folks. I started reading the white folks. I read Alexander Hamilton and Abraham Lincoln and Helen Keller, and I was just so inspired. And it was from reading those biographies that I fell in love and knew I wanted to be in the practice of law. Because even though those books were not specifically about lawyers, although some of those names were jurists, it was unique in those books because those people, they were agents of change. And the time period in which they were making and participating and engaging in that change, it was lawyers that were their catalysts. It was lawyers that were the backbone. It was lawyers standing in the courtrooms getting the law challenged when they weren't fair. It was lawyers. And so it was, I believe, Abraham Lincoln's prowess and training as a lawyer that made him as unique as he was for that particular period of time in this country. And so I decided in middle school that I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know what it takes, but I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a part of this profession that helps affect change. Now, some of you may be saying, well, that's fine and good for you, Ms. Huntley. I'm not really going to do any of the civil rights stuff. I mean, I have no dream to be this major lawyer of some big substantive domestic change that might affect people across the world. I mean, everybody can't be a Theodore Cedric, young white lawyer in the middle of the Revolutionary War that challenged slavery as unconstitutional for a black slave woman in Massachusetts and won with an all-white jury. Everybody can't be, we're beyond slavery and we're in civil rights, of Fred Gray that tries all of the cases that Dean Brandon just laid out for you that impacted society and focused on another level of justice for African Americans in this country. That may not be the unique way in which God has crafted your experiences and who you are to serve in this profession, but you serve nonetheless. Because every day when you engage in the practice of law, you are the gatekeeper of liberty and justice. It is no different if you are a transactional lawyer that's making sure that the tax codes are being complied with, or engaging in the policy and the change of all of those things. At the end, they're gatekeepers of our liberty and our justice, our operations that make this country work, that make it what it is. It doesn't matter if you're going to be and even an accountant or go into some of the financial realms in wealth management and all of those things, and you're using your law degree as a way to diversify your skill set in order to enhance that career. And then, even if you're going to be a Fred Gray or an attorney that is going to pursue a law of making sure that we are considering the public and the domestic issues that this country struggles with on a regular basis. You know why? Because we live in a country of a whole bunch of different ideas. We live in a country of a whole bunch of people with different backgrounds and different perspectives and different ways that they see things. And because of that, we need a mechanism that is going to keep all of that in balance, right? Whether it's from a perspective of statutes and regulations and ways in which businesses engage so they aren't unfair to people, all the way to the criminal justice system. And the folks that assist in maintaining that order are you. So don't sit there and say, well, I'm just going to be this transactional lawyer. It's not going to matter. Oh, yes, it is. Those transactions matter. Those statutes matter. The criminal law system matters, to be fair. The civil rights systems matter for equity for all. They all matter. Because here's what I learned that law school shapes you to do. It shapes you to think with what I call the domino effect. See, there's a method to these crazy folks' madness. And I'm calling them crazy because we're all a little crazy, right? When we think about all of the stuff that we're asked to do at one time and read and synthesize and understand and all of this, because at the end of the day, the same way Mr. Gray had 24 hours to go represent somebody in a major case like the issues surrounding the Selma to Montgomery March, you have to know how to take a lot of information in a short period of time and synthesize it to understand its positions, and not just understand its positions in the moment, but understand what it's going to do, the domino effect of how, if this domino goes down, it's going to hit that domino, and that's going to happen, and that's going to happen. If you've ever engaged in moot court, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the domino effect of if the court rules this way, it's going to trigger all of these other things to happen. That's the mental process, the transformation of your mind that has occurred with this Juris Doctor that you will be conferred on today. And let me tell you something. It is an amazing thinking tool to help you impact society, whether it's on a board for a truly domestic issue, a social issue facing our nation, whether it's sitting in a legislature, whether it's Congress or a state legislature, and understanding rules and these laws and how they're going to implicate other things, or whether it's a transactional person that understands you might be opening the door for some major inequities across society if we were to push the envelope in how we engage in the business world. They're all important. So the question is, what are you going to do with what you have? You have been given a gift. You have been given a gift of this ability to think like a lawyer. And it is a gift that can serve so many. Because I'll tell you this, and y'all are going to learn this real quick. Some of you have probably learned this in law school, and raise your hand if you have. Because you're either going to law school or you are a lawyer, folks think you just know stuff, don't they? Y'all got those family phone calls, those friends, hey, look now, I need some help with such and such, and what do you think? And you're thinking, I don't know anything about this. But guess what? Because of your training in the practice of law, you're going to know how to find out what to do about this. Or you're going to know how to direct them to a colleague that does. Your ability to be able to help people to do the simple thing that we do as lawyers. We help tackle problems. That's what you do. You tackle problems every day, whether it's a corporate client or a little child client. You're tackling problems. And the gift you've been given is a unique gift that gives you a unique skill set to be able to do that. And what a gift it is. And what are you going to do with what you have? And not only do you have this gift, but you have this gift with the University of Alabama School of Law stamped on it. A top 25 elite law school in this country. What a gift. And you better not go out there and embarrass us either. Have a gift to have come from this, have this level of training with these esteemed law professors behind me. What a gift. You know, you guys come from over half the states in the United States, which means this law school is touching a breadth of this country with whatever it is you go and do. You do it well. Think about what you're going to do with what you have. And let me just say this in closing. Guys, also understand this. Again, I told you I'm a person of faith. This is just a stepping stone. I know you all have put a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of energy into determining that first place you're going to go when you leave this law school, that first job, that first clerkship, that going to an LLM, whatever it is that you're doing next. I know you put a lot of stock into it, but you need to understand that it's a stepping stone. It is not your final destination. With a law degree, there are so many different ways you're going to evolve. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up, and I'm 51 years old. Because you have this unique skill set that allows you to do so many things. So continue to grow, continue to learn, continue to guard liberty and justice, as is your charge with this degree today. And continue to appreciate what you have and be aware of the moments when you start to realize what you need to do with what you have. So I say congratulations again. I say congratulations to you for all of your hard work. Celebrate and embrace this moment, and oh, the places you will go. Congratulations, class of 2022.
Thanks, Liz. That was inspiring. We shall now confer the Juris Doctor degree upon this, the distinguished class of 2022, and immediately following, we shall also confer the Master of Laws degree. Would the candidates for the Juris Doctor degree please stand? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the trustees of the University of Alabama and is recommended and approved by the Alabama Law faculty, I confer upon each of you the Juris Doctor degree with all its rights, responsibilities, privileges, and duties. Tassels left. Congratulations. Please be seated. Would the candidates for the Master of Laws degree please stand? By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University of Alabama and as recommended and approved by the Alabama Law faculty, I confer upon each of you the Master of Laws degree with all of its rights, responsibilities, privileges, and duties. You may move your tassels left as well if you haven't already done so. Congratulations. Marshals, please begin the procession.
Kyle Michael Glynn, who will also be receiving the Harrison Award. Catherine Michelle Farazi, who will also be receiving the Harrison Award. Congratulations. Caitlin E. Carson, who will also be receiving the Harrison Award and the Order of the Samaritan. John Price McGiffert Jr., who will also be receiving the Harrison Award, the JD MBA degree, and the Order of the Samaritan. William Bennett Grimes, who will also be receiving the Harrison Award. Hunter Ross Myers, who will also be receiving the Harrison Award. Isaac Clayton Wash, who will also be receiving the Harrison Award. Dakota Christopher Slaughter. Mackenzie Lauren Moore. Rubayet T. Lasker, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Allison Elizabeth Kozik, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Erica Lane Webb, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Katrina Morgan Smith, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Ryan Peter Smith, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Charles Raymond Miller IV, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Haley M. Zarnik, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Holly Michelle Russo, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Certificate in Governmental Affairs. Anne Clark Ormond, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Robert I. Moore, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan. Virginia R. Bradley, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan. Morgan Lee Allred, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan. Brianna D. Anderson, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Chloe Bess Burris, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Governmental Affairs Certificate. Sarah Martha Ming, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan. Anna Drake Stevens, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan. Brooke Alexandria Whaley, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan. Emma Joy Jungwin Bykirk, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Matthew R. Dugan, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Lucas Lorenzo Lopez, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan. Nicholas Hebebrand, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Samantha J. Renshaw, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the International Law Certificate. Matthew William Spencer, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. Bernita S. Softly, who will also be receiving the Order of the Samaritan and the Public Interest Certificate. She's done this before. Tiana Lachey Griggs. John Wilson Booth. Benjamin James Barrow. Callie S. Leopard. Cassidy Ray Keith. Annalie Nicole Barnes. Gabriella Thorin. Cooper Spencer Taylor. Marcus Ryan Armband, who will also be receiving the Public Interest Certificate. Jordan S. Van Gundy. Andrew Spangler Blakesley, who will also be receiving the Public Interest Certificate and the Governmental Affairs Certificate. Adam Garrett Williams. Julia Margaret Potts. Kiana R. Muse. Ronnie Eve Onyango. Haley Horn Carter. Chanmi Praise O. Gretchen Nicole Headkey. Emily C. Ellis. Paul Anthony Irwin III. Tucker Douglas Crane. Amy Elaine Harper. Shelby Lynn Savage, who will also be receiving the Public Interest Certificate. Adriana Marie Harris. Who will also be receiving her LLM in Business Transactions and the Public Interest Certificate. Keneal D. Wilson, who will also be receiving her LLM in Taxation. Adelaide Beckman. Anna Parson Pendleton. Hallie Brunette Diaz. David L. Wickenheiser. Alec Wayne Nunn, who will also be receiving his LLM in business transactions. Rhett Darrell Ramsey. Cody Philip George, who will also be receiving the Master of Science in Civil Engineering. Benson B. Checketts. Margot Blair Wolverton. Grayson D. Miller. Ethan Robert Wright. Joseph P. Meggs. Charles William Brand. Christopher Edward Aiken. Cole Bryant Chesser. Amanda Jean West. Emily Hartree Fedonzak. Taylor Caitlin Shatina. Trevor Allen Hansen. James C. Crosswhite. Andrew G. Deloney II. Davis Cooper Delich. Kayla Shuri Ryan. Jackson Manley Colburn. Aaron E. Smith. Caleb D. Smoke. Joseph Brian Hottinger, who will also be receiving the LLM in taxation. Spencer Eric Boley. Marie Steffi Rosine. Mary Elizabeth Clemens. Lane Carol Fincher, who will also be receiving the LLM in taxation. Bonnie Kerr DiCarlo. Caitlin Elizabeth French, who will also be receiving the public interest certificate. Joe Oliver Stevenson III. William Hunter Webb. Patterson Elizabeth Johnston. Madeline Haynes Beatty. Charlotte Ellen Waters. Sarah Raquel Rosenthal. Chandler N. Jones. Ansley L. Armagast. Gabrielle Haley Shaler. Charles A. McKay. John M. Collier, Jr. Christopher A. Sparkman, who will also be receiving the LLM in taxation. Mason A. Cruz. Haley Ann Hogue. Emily Danielle Robinson. Brick Elizabeth Brawley. Madison Grace Sanders. Kaylee A. Furr, who will also be receiving the Master of Social Work. Callie Mills Cochran. Jesse R. Westerhouse. Kyle Bradley Stewart. Zachary Lane Gillespie. Michael J. Avery. Erin Elise Hudson. Aaliyah LaShawn Locke. Natalie Michaela Daniel. Alexander Gregory Spanos. Taylor T. Perry III. Tanner Gaines Airy. Curtis Tate Graves. Joshua M. Crumley. Solomon Thomas. Margaret Ann Olson, who will also be receiving the Public Interest Certificate. Chloe F. McGuire. Christopher P. Wilson. Michael Allen Anderson is receiving the LLM in Business Transactions. Wayne Hurd Jr. is receiving the LLM in Business Transactions. William Rossi Gray Jr. is receiving the LLM in Taxation.
Please join me in recognizing, celebrating, and congratulating the class of 2022. I'm now pleased to invite and welcome you to a reception which will be held next door at the School of Law on the Camille Wright Cook Pavilion in the front of the law school. Our commencement program now stands adjourned. Congratulations.
amazing.